we want to be unoffendable, we have to learn to seek validation from God and not man. In our world, we have a huge addiction that goes undiagnosed every day, but affects our everyday life. It is an addiction to being liked by everybody. We do everything we can to make sure that we're on good terms with every single person. We want to be liked by everybody. But the reality is that Jesus lived a perfect life, healed the sick, raised the dead, and they killed him. If everybody likes you, you're probably doing something wrong. And so we have to, instead of seeking the applause of man and the validation of man, we get our validation from God. We live with one goal in mind. And that goal is to reach the end of our days here on earth. And as we stand before God, we hear those words, "Well done, my good and faithful servant." That is the validation from God that we need in our lives. Because what happens is we get offended when we feel underappreciated or unappreciated. We're looking for the applause of man. When we complete a job, it's like, all right, where's everybody at to tell me how good I did at that? Or if we continue to do the job over and over again, it's like, well, you cheered me on last time. Why aren't you celebrating me this time? Or why in the world are you celebrating that person instead of me? I work twice as hard. And all of it is an addiction to the applause of man. Now, that doesn't mean that we stop encouraging people. It doesn't mean that we stop building them up. It means that we personally have to make the decision that that's not what we're living for. We're living for the validation of God. Ephesians chapter 6, verses 7 and 8, it says, "Work with enthusiasm, as though you were working for the Lord rather than for people. Remember that the Lord will reward each one of us for the good we do, whether we are slaves or free." What I have come to know in my life is that the acknowledgement of man becomes like a sugar rush in life. And what happens is it feels good for a moment, and so we continue to chase the sugar rush. But what happens is our diet becomes very unhealthy because all we're doing is getting sugar rush after sugar rush after sugar rush, and it's actually killing our spirits. You see, this isn't just an addiction in the workplace as we chase after the applause of the boss or the HR department. We see this addiction play out in social media as well, as people chase after likes and comments because they're not getting the validation from individuals in real life, and so they just keep posting. And then they look to see who looked at their content, and they keep scrolling. They keep trying to measure themselves up against other people. And it is this constant sugar rush. It's this dopamine hit that we get when people like and comment. And it's all simply just a validation from man instead of God, which gives us plenty of opportunities to walk in offense. When our validation comes from the Lord, it doesn't matter what man says about us, because we are anchored in what the Lord has said about us.